Hi, I'm Lynn from Brookside Gardens. Thanks for joining me today for a lesson about pollination and flowers. Often spring entices us to go outdoors and explore nature. And when you do so, take the opportunity to look at a flower and see what's happening and watch the process of pollination. Pollination is when pollen is transferred from a flower part to another flower part of the same kind. And I'm going to show you why it's important and how it helps keep nature going. So let's take a look at this big model flower here. It's kind of cut in half so that we can take a look at all of the different parts of the flower. The first part I'm going to show you is located in the center of the flower, and this is called the pistil. It's the female part of the flower, and its main job is to make the seeds for the plant. So here's another model pistil, and it's actually comprised of three smaller parts. The top part here is called a stigma. The center part here is called a style, and this bottom part is called an ovary. It's inside the ovary where seeds are developed. The next part, the male part of the flower, is called a stamen. This particular flower here has 4 of them, and the stamen's job is to make pollen. Pollen is produced inside of this part here called an anther, and then this long stalk here is called a filament. The filament holds the anther up. And this particular stamen has another part at the very bottom called nectary, just like the word factory. The nectary makes a sweet, sugary liquid called nectar that when animals and insects visit, they're rewarded with this sweet, sugary liquid, or they're in search of that liquid for food because it's nutrient rich and it provides them with energy. So we know that all flowers don't look like this one. They come in different shapes and sizes and colors. And the thing that attracts a pollinator is the colorful petals, or it could be the shape or that smell. So sometimes when animals and insects come over to visit a flower, some pollinators see different lines or markings on a flower petal. These lines or markings can be like dots, or they could be like a zigzag pattern, but they're called nectar guides. And you can think of them like runway lights. When a pilot lands a plane, runway lights help show which direction the pilot needs to go in. And it's the same with flowers. So when insects and animals visit a flower, these nectar guides will help show the way to the nectar way down inside. So let's pretend this flower is growing out, looks like gardens, and there's a bee flying around, and the bee is coming over to visit the flower. And when it comes over to visit, it finds the nectar, and it's drinking the nectar, buzzing around inside, and as it's buzzing around, it's brushing up against the male part of the flower called the stamen. And pollen is getting brushed all over the hairy body and legs of the bee. Then the bee finishes drinking nectar, takes off, flies around, and if it lands on another flower of the same kind, this time pollen from its body can drop onto the top of the female part called the pistil. And notice how this looks yellow. That represents tiny little pollen grains stuck to the top of the pistil or stigma. And then those pollen grains will grow through the style into the ovary of the flower. And then inside, if you were to look inside an ovary, you would see that there are some tiny little structures that look like this. These are called ovules. They're like little eggs. And when the pollen touches one of these, fertilization takes place, and then the flower's petals will start to drop off, and the ovary will start to grow big and bigger into a fruit with seeds inside. So let's say this flower was growing on an apple tree, and it was pollinated by a bee, and then the flowers start to drop off, and this part here, the ovary, will grow big into an apple fruit with seeds inside. But think about this. Wonder if this was a flower on a big, tall oak tree, and it was pollinated by the wind. What would the ovary grow into? It would grow into an acorn, because this is the seed that is produced when wind pollinates the oak tree flower. So that's a brief demonstration about flowers and pollination, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that you remember to watch it when you're out on your outdoor adventure in your backyard, or even if you're here at Brookside Gardens. And think about when you eat lunch, what foods are you eating that pollination has helped make? And thanks for joining in today.